it's time for another book review. So today we're going to talk about The Rose Society, which is the second in the Young Elites series. If you remember, I have a review of the Young Elites. Check it out, links in the doobly-doo. And as you may recall, I found the Young Elites enjoyable only in the so-bad-it's-good way. But it entertained me enough with its ineptitude that I wanted to read the second one. So, what did I think of The Rose Society? Let's read the synopsis on Goodreads. Got my trusty laptop right here. Once upon a time, a girl had a father, a prince, a society of friends, and then they betrayed her, and she destroyed them all. That's a lie. Adelina Amutero's heart has suffered at the hands of both friends and family, turning her down the bitter path of revenge. Now known and feared as the White Wolf, she flees Canetra with her sister in hope of finding other young elites, in hopes of building her own army of allies. Her goal? To strike down the Inquisition Axis, the white-cloaked soldiers who nearly killed her. But Adelina is no heroine. Her powers, fed only by fear and hate, have started to grow beyond her control. She does not trust her newfound elite friends. Terran Santoro, leader of the Inquisition, wants her dead, and her former friends, Raffaele and the Dagger Society, want to stop her thirst for vengeance. Adelina struggles to cling to the good within her. But how can someone be good when their very existence depends on darkness? Let me just point out that everyone else on Goodreads, possibly on the planet, loves this book. Probably because they liked the first one and they came to read the second one because they already liked the first one. I don't think anyone was like me where they thought the first one was bad and they came to read the second one because they thought the first one was bad. Again, I kind of took notes as I went, so let's see what we've got here. Okay, so Adelina and her sister are on the run because they have been betrayed by the other Young Elites, the Dagger Society. Now, if you recall, Addie basically killed her boyfriend, who was the leader of the Dagger Society, so I don't know how betrayed she actually is, but that is what she is telling herself. I will point out one thing that I appreciated, and that is that Addie is less whiny in this book. Nobody wants to listen to their main character bitch all the time. She definitely feels, at least at first, like a girl who's been snubbed from a club. And she's like, well, fine, I'll just go make my own better club and see how they like it. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the writing right here, and that is the description of things. The silk is back. Motherfucking silk. It's like the author doesn't know that other kinds of fabric exist. The dancers were wearing elaborate silks. She reached into her silks to find her wallet. He looked fantastic in his glittering silks. Can we just talk for a moment about the slave trade that must be going on around here to produce all this silk? Can we talk about the silkworms that are just probably all over the place because nobody wears anything except silk? Also, Murmur is back, and we all know how I feel about Murmur. The characters in this book constantly murmur things, even when it doesn't make any sense for them to do so. Like, one guy murmured to someone who was like across the room from him. How? They also hiss things all the time. Not whisper, hiss. I think the problem here is that Mary Lou, the author of these books, knows that said gets really boring. She said, he said, they said, and I agree. But I think that Mary Lou might have a visualization problem where she doesn't actually hear in her head the way the characters are speaking, because if they murmured and hissed as much as she said they do, her entire book would just sound like a bunch of snakes with diction problems. Descriptions in this book are also really over the top, like extravagant descriptions. Now, it might just be because we are mostly in Adelina's head and she is a little bit of a drama queen, but we get other characters' points of views, and the descriptions there are also just as sort of far-fetched and unusual. I think they are attempting to make the world more vivid and not use the same old descriptions that a lot of people use, but at a lot of points I was laughing because the descriptions were so far-fetched, and actually picturing things the way they were described was hilarious. Not to mention there was a lot of repetition. Things were described the same way every time, or the same words were used twice like, one sentence would use a word and then the next sentence would use the very same word. So I started challenging myself with this game. Whenever I got an adjective or description that was the same twice in a row, I would challenge myself to replace the second one with a synonym or a description of my own imagining that would have worked just as well. Okay, so let's get back with Addie and her ineptitude. When she gets to this other land, she finds this other young elite called Maggiano, who's arguably an interesting-ish character. Part of the problem that I was having with Maggiano is that I was listening to this as a recorded book, and our narrator person was not very good at reading sarcasm, and Maggiano is a very sarcastic, sort of almost snarky character, and so if you don't read those lines correctly, it just sounds wrong. Our next plan, our genius tactical leader's next plan, is to go find the biggest, like, bandit lord in the area and scare him so bad he joins her side. Who thought this, well, Addie thought this was a good plan, but why did anyone else go along with it? And of course she ends up killing the bandit lord because Adelina's powers are evil. And somehow they escaped, and yes, you guessed it, some of the bandit lord's mercenaries are going to end up on her side, because fuck you and your logic. Also, now that Adelina has defeated a bandit lord, she's decided, why not, I'm gonna be queen, which she thinks she is going to be able to do if she kills the previous queen. Honey, maybe I'm way off and things in this world are messed up, but when a member of the royal family dies, there are usually people who are next in line. Either relatives, or if there are no relatives, political leaders to take over the throne. We do not normally give the throne to the fucker who came in and killed the previous leader. Unless you take over, you sack the city, you enslave the people, you take over. But Adelina seems to think that all she has to do is get her ass in there and kill the queen. Yeah, the book expects us to believe not only this, but also that it fucking works. What? Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because also at this time, people, a queen from another land who's going to be helping them later, for reasons, has this power to resurrect people from the dead. So you know what that means? That's right, Addie's boyfriend who she killed in the last book is gonna be resurrected as a zombie! Except for not a cool flesh-eating zombie, more like a broody emo zombie. And Adelina wants to be queen, partially to help those who are like her, but really just because we're told that she just wants power. Blanketly wants power. Because Adelina is a Disney villain. Now cut to a scene of Adelina sitting on top of a termite mound surrounded by singing hyenas. The only plan that might have worked was for Adelina to get her zombie boyfriend, who she got on her side through this complicated ritual, so now he's bound to her soul. Okay, whatever. She should take zombie boyfriend, who was the prince, and try to get him back on the throne. This would admittedly be difficult because he was super dead, and everyone knew he was dead, and he was probably buried somewhere nearby. But overlooking that, if you can convince the populace that he somehow faked his own death and funeral so he could come back later, then okay, maybe. It's better than Adelina's plan to kill the queen and somehow then rule from there. Plus, this zombie boyfriend allows us to have a new love triangle for Adelina because that Maggiano guy really likes her, and he's the sweet, lovable, caring one who is the undesirable one compared to dark, broody, damaged zombie Enzo. Especially now that she and Enzo's souls are locked together. I'm so used to these kind of cliches in young adult books that I didn't even bother getting attached to Maggiano and his love for her, even though his is much healthier than frickin' Enzo. Because we all know where these characters go in the end. The damaged one. Nice people can't be damaged, it's impossible. Okay, I will hand it to this book. There are a few times when I did find myself somewhat enjoying it, and that was when all of the elites were fighting each other using their X-Men powers, because it takes a stonier heart than mine to hate on X-Men fighting. Unfortunately though, my favorite character from the previous book Terran, the bad guy, who I made up all this great headcanon about, is hardly in it, and when he is, he's even more one note than he was in the previous book, making it really difficult for me to come up with more headcanon for him. I did write him a very short fic though. If you want to read it, links in the doobly-doo. I may or may not have also done it to prove to myself that I can write better than Mary Lou, so if you think that she's a genius and you just want to hate on me, then go read that fic and leave me a mean comment. The final battle was kind of cool, if confusing. A lot of times I had trouble placing the characters like in the world with each other. I wasn't sure who was where in relation to whom, because everybody was flying around on these giant flying manta rays and some of them were on ships, and that part was really confusing. But if I just didn't even worry about that and just watched the X-Men powers flying everywhere, then it was kind of entertaining. And then my audiobook glitched and I missed the last part of the final battle, but I know that Enzo used his fire and the queen was dead, and then I believe, it's my understanding, that Adelina was unconscious and then she was queen. Yeah, no, there's no fucking way she's queen. No. The other queen, the one from the other land who helped Adelina take over, she would be queen before Adelina was queen, because this chick actually brought an army to sack the whole city, to take over. Adelina, all she has is like this figurehead and this white wolf thing and like 3 guys and some bandits. She is not that badass. Everybody keeps trying to make it like she has this reputation. Oh, she's terrifying and terrible, and I'm like, I don't believe you. She hasn't done anything that terrifying or terrible. She's killed like 3 people. What is this reputation, this white wolf reputation, that they would be so afraid of this chick that they would make her the queen? Terran and his power and his healing factor are 10 times scarier than Adelina and her power, and he has a history of killing lots of people. Terran is more likely to be the ruler than Adelina is, if this is what we're going by. I'm done. I am so done. I'm not reading the next book. I had too many problems with this one. If you can see past this book's problems, if you still like it, if you like the X-Men thing, a lot of people like Adelina because she's dark. And, you know, maybe for you that's good enough, but there were too many gigantic plot holes, and we kept being assured that Adelina was this renowned badass, but it was all tell and no show. I didn't believe that she was a good leader. She never made good decisions. Somehow she got to be queen, and I don't buy it for a second. But there's a silver lining. At the end of the book, we find out that all of the young elites are probably going to die because of their powers. So yeah, that's awesome. And Adelina will eventually go crazy and die. Although I am curious, what happens to the world after that? You know, a plague caused all these children to have powers. And so they're all roughly the same age, I guess. And then they will eventually be killed by these powers, leaving normal humans again in the world. And then, what, everything just goes back to the way it was? I guess. So those were my thoughts on the Rose Society. Ha! Did you actually like that book and make it all the way through my review of it? Wow. This is a sincere clap. I'm actually impressed that you sat around for me to bash your book that you actually liked. If you are one of the probably like 5 other people on the entire planet who did not absolutely love this book, hi. You have come to the right place, my friend. We have nothing here but rage, and it is glorious. The darkness inside me will never end. Anyway, I'll see you next time for whatever video we're doing next time. Bye!